What's a dopamine detox and why do you need one? The good news is that our smartphones can do everything. The bad news is that we don't know how to stop using them sometimes. So the other day I did a dopamine detox, and it's basically a day without devices. It's a time where you just put them down, put them away, and you don't stare at that blue screen for one whole day. You basically put it down the night before and you don't pick it up the next day until the following day. You give yourself a complete detox. Because here's the thing, your cell phone, your smartphone can be used for anything. It can be used for playing games, checking messages, communicating with other people, doing your banking, and it has a whole mishmash of things that you can be doing with it, but it's not for one specific use. So you could virtually spend hours upon hours upon hours on it doing things. And while you're doing that, you're giving yourself a dopamine rush. You are feeling good because you're interacting with others. You might have posted something and other people are commenting and liking it. Or you have a birthday and people are wishing you happy birthday, or you're wishing somebody a happy birthday or celebrating something, and you're constantly getting little hits of dopamine. You are feeling good because you're interacting with others. They're feeling good. And so you're getting these dopamine hits and you're feeling good. But it becomes a habit after a while, and you don't even need to have a trigger in order to use it. You suddenly find yourself reaching for your phone and checking messages, or checking to see what other people are doing, or checking to see what's going on in the world. And when you do that, you get another hit, and it becomes something habitual. It becomes natural. And in this book here, Atomic Habits, James Clear is talking about this very, very succinctly. He's talking about triggers as being cues. We are cued to do something. It's not the context that we're thinking about here or looking at, though, because the context is that our phones are intended for our use, for our purposes, for the things we need. But because they put so many apps on them and given it so much functionality that we can't stop ourselves, and we are going into it all the time, looking at it and using it to get a dopamine hit, a dopamine rush. And so completely blocking it and taking it out of your vision and out of your perception for the day can make a huge difference. It lets your mind calm down, and it gives your eyes a break. Our eyes are using about 50% of our brain's energy. And so if you realize that and you're staring at a screen all the time, you are using about 50% of your brain, and it's not being used effectively, and you're triggering your dopamine. You don't need to be doing that. So that's what you can do. That's what you can change about your phone. You can change the context around it. You can have certain days where you do certain things on it, certain times. You can even have certain folders. I only have one specific folder on my home screen, and that has the apps that I absolutely need to use on a regular basis. Everything else is on screens and in folders that are on the next pages. I just keep them separate. It's an easy way so that I don't get caught up looking at those red dots and wondering what that is, and using the fear of missing out, FOMO, if you've heard that acronym, to look at them and get busy doing something that probably has no value in my life. So here's the thing. If you can just take one day a week to just unplug and let your dopamine come down, let your hormones come down, and let everything settle back down to homeostasis so that you can now focus and be clear and know what you want. Do some writing, do some reading, do something else. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but when you read, you almost feel like you need more light. If that's what you're seeing, that's what I'm seeing as well. It seems like I need more light to read a book now because I'm used to staring at a screen. I'm used to having a black backlit screen and white text, so it's easy to read. But now I'm looking at white paper or creamy colored paper from a book, and I'm looking at black text, and my eyes don't adjust that well, so it seems like I need more lighting. So now it's changing how I read books. So just think about that for a minute. What if you took just one day, 24 hours and totally unplugged from your devices and didn't look at them, didn't use them for anything, just unplug. In fact, there are boxes that you can put them in with a timer on them and lock them away. And so you could do that as well. Because otherwise, what happens is you get caught up in the disease of all diseases, which is mental blindness. People don't know about mental blindness because it's not something that's common, and it's not even something that's in the medical system. But think about it for a second. We are mentally blind because we are no longer in charge of what we're doing. We're being triggered by things. We are establishing habits that have to do with devices and communicating with people and being triggered by these things instead of using our time to do the things that we want and we like and we love and that give us the greatest value. That's called the meaning of life. So think about what the meaning of life is for you. What do you want? What do you feel good about? What would you feel proud about if you did it today? What are those things? And you should think about those things and write them down, and literally write them down. You know, here's the thing. Writing things down is a learning accelerator. When you type it or when you speak it using speech to text, it is not the same thing. But when you write it down, it's a learning accelerator. It triggers different aspects of your mind. It's the creative aspects of your mind. So write it down and write down the things that matter to you, what really would feel good to you, what is meaningful to you. Because when you do that, then you will focus more attention on those things. Right now, there's so much information coming at us. We don't know what's happening. A lot of things are unpredictable. The future, what the government's going to do, and so on. So we might as well focus our attention on what we want, what's going to give us the greatest satisfaction. Otherwise, we are basically being managed and directed by our phones and by the media and information that's coming through it. And it's not always that valuable. It certainly isn't valuable if it's not in alignment with you and what you want and what you find meaningful in your life. So when you write down things that are meaningful for you and think about those and focus your attention on them and give less attention to what's coming at you, then you can make your future more predictable. Make sense? So then you have more control over what's happening to your emotions and to your dopamine and to your hormones. So you get more control over that, and then you can move forward and enjoy what you came here to do on this earth. We all have a purpose. We know that, and we've been taught that by Susan Jeffers and Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer, Brendan Burchard, and all the greatest teachers. They are teaching us that we have a purpose, and we do. And you have a purpose, but it's not to be on your phone and on your computer all the time and interacting with others 24/7. That is just ineffective. And it's just getting your dopamine on this huge roller coaster ride of spikes and peaks and valleys of dopamine. And you get up in the morning, you check your messages, and you're on somebody else's agenda. You get a dopamine hit, and then you're looking for another one, and another one, and another one. And you're continually looking for dopamine hits and looking for things that are interesting and that will motivate you or that are exciting, and it's ineffective. There are videos on YouTube now that are getting millions of views, and I can't really fathom why, because they're pretty brutal. They are basic videos. They are showing somebody doing something that's either funny or ridiculous or risky, and millions and millions of people are watching them. Why? Because they're bored, and because I think their dopamine needs to have that extra push, that little extra hit again. So my suggestion is take a day, back off, put down your devices, and take a dopamine detox. Put that in your calendar. Do a dopamine detox. Just try it once. Once you do it once, you'll see how that feels. And if it feels good, then you'll do it again the following week. Try to do it at the same time. If it's on a weekend, if that's the time when you're not busy and you don't need to be looking at your phone, those are the times to put it away. If you have people communicating with you and they only communicate with you on your smartphone, then just notify them. Just say, today, my device is put away. If you need to reach me for an emergency, then send me a emergency message through some system or other way, or come knocking on my door, something of that nature. But when you have this under control, then you will feel good. You will come back down to homeostasis. You'll be calibrating your mind with what you want, with what's meaningful, and start feeling really good again. Because Smartphones have been introduced to our world, and we don't know how to handle them. We weren't taught how to use them. And more apps keep coming at us. More and more solutions keep coming at us. More and more information comes at us. We have to make decisions more so than ever. We have never made so many decisions in the history of all humankind. We were making probably 10% of the decisions that we make today on a weekly or monthly basis 100 years ago. So we've advanced so far that we have to sift through information and people to communicate with and make decisions all the time. We have decision fatigue. Why? Because there are people asking us to do things, and we don't want to say no. We don't want to offend them. And then we have other people that are inviting us to buy their products and unsolicited requests all the time coming through. And we have to make decisions. Do we delete it? Do we look at it? Do we read it? Do we respond to it? What do we do with it? So doing a dopamine detox will allow you to just pull back, get clear on what you want, get focused, and then come back and do what is necessary. And you'll find that after a while, you will start pulling back even more and not engaging as much on your phone and just be more clear. But remember, if you want, you can have your phone set up so that it is usable for you and functional for you, so it's not pulling you in all different directions. Have folders for certain apps, and you only look at those ones when you want to, and have notifications turned off if that matters. If you need them on, fine, but if you don't, turn off all notifications except for perhaps phone calls and text messages, and really communicate with people and let them know what to expect and how they can communicate with you. If they're calling you and they can't reach you and they need to get a hold of you and it's an emergency, then text you. Otherwise, you really don't need all those notifications. They're distractions. They're pulling you away from what you're doing. And they're getting your dopamine raised up and spiked up so that by the end of the day, you're exhausted and you have to sleep, and then you get up again next day and repeat, and you keep rinsing and repeating. So don't do it anymore if you have the opportunity. Why? Because it will become a habit that you will not be able to break, and it's going to cause all sorts of havoc in this world if we don't get control of what's going on with our devices and our communications and our dopamine. Because it is there to support us, but it's not there to be spiked and go peaks and valleys of dopamine spikes and valleys of rest and relaxation. We don't need that. What we need is a little bit more control, a little bit more balance, and not be so mentally blind. You've got this. I've got your back. Thanks for watching. Speak soon.